men, women, all the same thing, all the thing. Anything going must be to win. Team Cataract, Ultras, one Raymond and this.
Greetings sports fans, welcome back to Eddie Vision TV, the channel where we look at sports differently. I'm your host Eddie Gona. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Now the JFF presidential election heating up. You know, I was invited to the launch of Raymond Anderson's Manifesto. Alright people, held at the Courtly Hotel, and good event. Mr. Anderson and his team highlighted their plans for Jamaican football. Now they're all about real solid action. RSA. That's their mantra. It's a 27-page manifesto, and that will be made available. If you guys want it, you can contact me on Instagram. But a lot was discussed, a lot of big wigs in attendance, and basically the night started off, Mr. Anderson got his introduction, initial speech, and then his manifesto was highlighted afterwards. But before that, Raymond Anderson announced his team, or what they call slate. A very, very impressive lineup, I must add. The likes of Keith Wellington, you all know Issa Boss, Danny Beckford, Arville Powell, Jacqueline Cummings, Carol Beckford, top marketer and communication specialist, and also Dave Cameron. So a good batting lineup for Mr. Anderson. And each of these persons were specifically chosen with a specific responsibility. Keith Wellington was supposed to lead youth development. Carol Beckford, communication. Jacqueline Cummings, women's development. Arville Powell, infrastructure development. Dave Cameron was there to basically help to lift the FIFA restriction. But the big points of the manifesto: rebranding, number one. We have to change the image, we have to rebrand the JFF. So that was the first major talking point. Secondly, youth development, and that was supposed to be driven by data. So a database of all the players at the different levels. Develop a local elite squad. That's number three. A local squad that is here, ready and waiting in camps and ready to step in when necessary. Restoring financial stability. All know the JFF are always crying about money. So that's part of his manifesto, part of his plan. Another aspect, developing the women's game. Creating leagues, having local players. Another one, regaining stakeholder trust. Nobody likes the JFF. Hard to get sponsorship, hard to trust. So they're planning on rebuilding that relationship, especially with corporate Jamaica. Infrastructure. Plan is to upgrade stadiums or even build new stadiums. So we need to get that up. And the last one, qualifications. They're aiming to qualify for every single World Cup at all levels. But here's a big one, not only qualification, winning. So the plan is to win a World Cup. Not just qualify, but win. Alright, people. So let's hear from a few persons that were in attendance.
This is John to join us. And what we believe is a game-changing occasion. I come before you this evening with a commitment to integrity, transparency, and efficiency, and to lead a team with the capacity to fulfill the objective we have pledged to pursue. Foremost among the challenges facing JFF is that over the last 6 years, the Federation has been operating under restricted funding mandate from the International Football Federation, FIFA. Please recognize that the restricted is due primarily for poor reporting and accountability over that period. This has imposed numerous constraints on the JFF to pursue meaningful development objectives. In fact, the Federation has been unable to meet some of its basic obligations, which has resulted in unseemly public dispute with some of the key stakeholders, namely players. The current administration enjoys very little trust among the various stakeholders. Trust is essential to efficient running of any venture. And ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, I want to repeat, trust is essential for the efficient running of any venture. The JFF is no exception of this rule. Trust loss is often hard to restore. Rebuilding trust is almost kind of putting Humpty Dumpty back together. You understand? We therefore have no alternative but to replace this regime. We neither have the time nor the resources to do otherwise. The administration needs to go, not because it is comprised of evildoers, but simply because Jamaica football cannot, and I repeat, cannot continue in its current state. Trust, ladies and gentlemen, impinges on everything we do. Corporate sponsor will not support us, our program, if they do not trust us. That is why the administration has failed to garner any sustainable, substantial support from corporate Jamaica. The public will not stand behind the team unconditionally in the absence of trust. And our players will not be able to perform to the highest level if they are not confident with the administration.
All right, Edivision TV, I'm here with Mr. Keith Wellington. Mr. Wellington, if your candidate Anderson is successful, I know that you'll be given the role for youth development. What are your plans for that?
Well, as things are now, obviously I am the president of ISA, which means that I have had some level of exposure to our youth footballers. I think that one of the things that we'll be aiming for is to create a better structure that allows our elite youngsters to have a clear pathway to development into international football. I think that what we have now in terms of our school system actually holds our young footballers a little bit too long as amateurs, and therefore we need to look at a structure that allows our youngsters being identified from as early as 8 years old and being able to develop to the point where by the time they get to 16 and 17, there's a clear indication as to whether or not they'll be able to make it in the professional ranks. If you look at what happens in track and field, where we have competitions even at the basic school level, and you look now at the number of young 16, 17, 18-year-old athletes that are gaining professional contracts. I think that is what we need to be looking at for our footballers. Our footballers coming out of high school at 19, turning 20, and not yet being involved in pro football is unlikely to produce significant success at the international level as senior players.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Wellington. At Edivision TV, I'm here with the campaign or road manager for Mr. Anderson Oyini Blake, aka Cataract. How has it been?
It's been interesting and learning experience. I'm an experienced campaigner, but understanding the landscape of football has been a learning curve. However, it's been very interesting. If you know that the other side, the other state had been boasting that Mr. Anderson would be able to be nominated because he couldn't find a nomination from Pillar Street. And so a lot of work went into ensuring that we got a nomination from Pillar Street. As a matter of fact, we ended up with more nominations than the incumbent. We got nominations from Israel, we got nominations from the past players, and a couple of the other bodies in the free. So that was the first objective, and the candidate is duly nominated. It's a tight race, even though a couple of weeks ago you know on YouTube Mr. Speed had beat his chest and said they have everything in the bag. So clearly that's not the case. Where we are now is that they have miscalculated, because there's a parish that did not nominate him. So they have to find out now who that parish is, because when they had said he control Pillar 1, which is the parish presidents, that's obviously not the case. Because we had, and I think this was known before, but what the big surprise is for this is that they were not able to garner all the other nominations, all the 9 nominations from the other parishes. So there is a parish out for grabs. And certainly in terms of the clubs, they would have maxed out at their 6 clubs, and therefore there's a fight in Pillar 3 for the other 3. So the election is on. You'd like to be ahead, but in a position where you're in striking distance, that's certainly good enough for an incumbent. And there are more bombshells to come, but I'll take your questions, Eddie.
All right, Cataract. Moving on to the manifesto, though. What's the biggest takeaway for you?
Well, the biggest takeaway from me is that there's a new game plan, but it's not really the manifesto that really caught me today. It's something that the presidential candidate in waiting, the president in waiting and the presidential candidate said Jamaica will win the World Cup. And you would know from a taller time, there's a man on YouTube that said that, and to hear a candidate come out, that is why I am so passionate about this team. And to show that we're not madmen, Coach John Wall made the same statement today. As a matter of fact, he went and said 2034 at the press conference. And the fact is that we have to set ourselves targets that are above just the regular run-of-the-mill thing if we're to get the fans excited again. So the manifesto is geared towards that. They set out the pillars, the finance, and those other things. But I'm on board with a candidate who believes that Jamaica can win the World Cup. I ask those on YouTube, those on social media, just believe. Because if we believe, then we can dream. If we dare to dream, then maybe, just maybe, we'll dare to achieve. No, really it's about the electoral process. I asked a question today about the General Secretary regarding the fact that those 7 2 of those 7 bodies in the Pillar 3 who are members, who were given a deadline of up to December 20th to submit their documents, they stand the risk of being disenfranchised because of a decision taken by the board. And in fact, the General Secretary doesn't know his role, that he is a part of the board as the CEO, but not a voting member. I've decided to have a Congress on the 16th, 4 days before the deadline. And therefore, these bodies would not have the chance to have their documents reviewed and be recommended to the Congress to come on board. And I cannot think about the fact that, and I ask you to think of it, the Referees Association not being affiliated and a member of the JFF. So what are they doing on a Sunday in the Premier League and on Monday Night Football? Those things have to be remedied. A big, well-established body like the Intercollegiate Sport, not being a member, having submitted all the documentation and complied with all the declarations, that they would be deemed not to be members insofar as to not have a vote. And I think what FIFA wants is to broaden the stakeholder, and I expect there to be some massive developments, especially in the area of the beach football versus beach soccer and the forward signatures, the alleged forward signatures, etc. And we want to just not have the sport of football have another black eye after what happened with the young ladies, our female players. We want to get football back on a positive track and qualify for 2026, see if we can win it, see if we can win 2030, see if we can win 2034. Men, women, under 17, under 20. Anything we're going to must be to win. Team Cataract, Ultras, one Raymond and this.
Big up.
Alright, there you have it. Real solid action. If you have a vote, will you be voting for Team Anderson? Raymond Anderson. They say if you want real change, you have to vote Anderson. So where will your vote go? Where will your support go? I'm still waiting for Mike Ricketts for his manifesto. Hopefully I will be invited to cover that. You know, you want to balance things. One for Anderson, one for Ricketts. But Mr. Ricketts, where is your manifesto? The public will want to know. Alright? I'm Eddie Guna. Thanks for watching. Always remember, like, share, and subscribe.